Hey, Radford Real Talk. We're back. You know how we do it with the warm up. Hey, yes. I'm feeling this one right here. Hey, let's breathe. Let's clear our minds. Release distractions. Release frustrations. Release the things we have no control over. What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Radford Real Talk. It has been a little while. Took a little breather, a little break. We have been super busy, getting deeper into the summer, things going on, trips and just a lot of things going on, man. Been busy. And you know what? Getting back to this podcast has been on my heart. Um and today was just like a random session that I felt like I had in me and that it was time. So the last session, Can't Judge a Book, that was part one. So part two will be coming after this. Okay. So within it will either be recorded today or tomorrow. Just want to let you guys know because I know you've been waiting on that. So we took a little breather for a little bit and to do some self-care, and we're ready to come back and continue to do this thing. But I had to get this off of me this morning. There's no actual set plan for Radford Real Talk, which is actually how I preferred it to be, because I feel like you can't force um, art. This is like art. You know what I mean? You can't force authenticity. So I want it to be natural, like it is, where I don't have to record on a set day, set time, and that's something I'm trying to break myself from. Is always being so structured, and just welcoming when something is dropped in my spirit to share. So this morning was the day. I actually want to call the title of this "The Confusion of a Calling." Okay, the confusion of a calling. And this is something off and on I've thought about for quite some time, man. And I felt the need, the heaviness, the push to get this out there. So evidently this is not only for myself, but this is also for, others who may be called to do certain things, right? We all have different gifts and we all have different callings, and it can range from a variety of things. And I've learned that the processes of life, all it's doing is just preparing us for whatever those gifts that we have that we're carrying, and also for whatever the callings that we have in our life. The processes of life, all it's doing is just literally preparing us for what we're called to do. And, sometimes it could be super frustrating. It really can. And that's just the human nature side of us. And not only that, it is people, people, everybody is not going to always receive, respect, um, and honor your gift or whatever your calling may be. And you have to learn how to be okay with that. It's a difficult thing. And sometimes it could be the ones that are closest to us that may take that for granted, right? So it could be family, it could be whomever that has access to us all the time. And, whatever we're called to do, whatever gifts we're carrying, because of that access and because it's so familiar, it's taken for granted. And I just wanted to kind of, inspire people or shed some hope and light that just keep going. You know what I mean? See things for what they are and, have the confidence in whatever it is that you're called to do. Everybody is not going to understand, you know. To be honest, sometimes we're not even going to understand what it is that God may be doing with us or calling us to do. And that's why I called it the confusion of the call. It's a lot of confusion in this thing, you know. Even for myself, there's a lot of confusion in the different things that he guides me and wants me to do, but I know I have to walk it out in the confusion, um, in the ambiguity, not knowing, not seeing the unknown and how it's going to be received. It's super, it's scary. It's a mix of emotions, anxiety. Um, it's just a mix of things that come with calling and come with purpose. I always say greatness comes with a cost. There's some things that we're going to have to do, some crosses that we're going to have to carry, um, as we're walking out this calling to help others. And if you're not careful, it will almost make you afraid to operate in the gift because of the cost that comes with it. But I've learned we can't do that. We cannot do that. And that's where like the faith part comes in, believing that this thing is going to be manifested, believing that there's this greatness within us that's being purged through whatever the processes are that we are going through, whatever we're experiencing. And life is great. You know what I'm saying? Life is great, but life can also get lifey sometimes. And in those lifey moments, we have to be like a horse with blinders on and continue to run this race, man, and stay focused on wherever it is we're going, the things that we want to achieve, and just not feel defeated when things may not go our way, or when things don't work out, or when people betray us or hurt us. Just staying focused, because at the end of the day, whoever's for us will be there. And whoever's not, they gotta go. And an elevator has a capacity, right? What happens when there's too much weight that gets on the elevator? The alarm goes off, the doors don't close, it just goes crazy, right? So those people in our lives that are dead weight, they can sound off an alarm in our life. And it can, we can have the warnings, and we can have all of the things, and we try to hold on to things that are not for us, or hold on to people that are not for us. And, those doors on that elevator won't close. It won't move. It won't go up. And a lot of times we get in our own way, you know, because we want what we want, and we want who we want. And, not even realizing that God's protection is not always what we think. And sometimes, in life, he wants to purge certain things from us, within us, and also people from our lives that just can't go with us. And that's a hard pill to swallow for some. It's very hard. It could be friends that you've been friends with for years. It could be family. It could be anybody. Nobody is exempt from this. And it's just tough, having to really see things for what they are and accept things for what they are sometimes. But this goes back to the confusion of the calling. It's super confusing when those lifey moments happen. And it's super confusing when, we have these different opportunities and we don't think that we're good enough to go for it, or, we have the fear or whatever. And, it's just confusing. Some of the things that we're going to be called to do is super confusing. And I completely get it. But we have to be obedient to that, and just go. And one of the things about myself, I'm an overthinker. I always say God's blessed me with a cool, interesting, confusing mind. And one of my friends calls it a beautiful mind. Sometimes it doesn't feel beautiful because it's so busy and there's so much that goes on. And if I allow that thing to take over, I wouldn't achieve the things that I'm trying to achieve, or would not have accomplished some of the things that I, have accomplished. And it's just moving. And it was crazy because as I was young, I used to have these little mottos and sayings for so long. I'm talking like late teens. And one of my main ones was keep it moving. And it's cool because I actually got it tattooed on my foot. In like hieroglyphics or whatever. But that's what it stands for, is keep it moving. And we're going to have to learn how to do that. And here's the thing, sometimes we're not going to feel like moving. And that's okay. That's okay. And that's where the self care comes in, where we have to do what we have to do to take care of us in that moment. Because everybody's not going to treat you how you're going to treat you, and everybody has their own lane and their own calling. And they're not going to understand it. It's not for them to understand. You know how you feel, you know what you think. And sometimes, that road to greatness and that road to whatever your calling is, it can be very lonely sometimes. It really can. And you'll feel confused like nobody understands you. That's a normal part of it. If you're not careful, you'll think you're crazy or something's wrong with you. And that's not the case. It's just you're set apart. And that's a hard thing to get. Everybody's calling looks different. Everybody's qualifiers for the levels of the call look different, taste different, sound different, feel different. So as you're going through whatever moments of lifiness, or even like just a sense of peace, everybody ain't gonna be able to understand that, because it's not their lane, it's not their journey. And that's what makes it so authentic as we're called to do these different things. It's because everybody's not supposed to be like us. But sometimes people would make you feel like you're crazy because, of not understanding what you don't understand, although you operating in it, if that makes sense. you know um that's where faith comes in. That's where that comes in, like really believing and knowing that that you have greatness in you, and that life is doing what it does to purge that greatness out of you. you know um but you got to continue to have the faith to keep pushing in the moments of the unclarity. You just have to keep going and not overthink it, and do what you need to do to take care of yourself. And just having that faith is what pushes you in the times where you just don't even know if you're going or coming, but it's something special when you break through that threshold. So you have to keep going regardless of what it looks like. You knowing that deep down, when the time is right, when the time comes, that everything is going to work together for the good. And holding on to that, and sticking by that, even when it's chaos happening or things are happening and opposition is coming, just holding on to the faith and knowing that it ain't gonna always be like that. I use a tunnel as an example, and I'm writing a book right now. It's gonna be coming out in the fall, and I break it down, talking about a tunnel. Tunnels are dark, they're gloomy, humid. They just, it's uncomfortable. And the thing about a tunnel is, you know, you can almost see sometimes when you're going in it, right? You know what's coming up. And but you can't pass. You can't pass anybody. The dotted lines that are on the road, they're always solid. Which means what? We can't pass. We can't pass cars to get ahead. We can't, maneuver around whatever we need to move. We can't do that. We just have to stay in that lane and just keep going until we come out. That's how life is. That's what life has taught me. We just have to keep going. We can't stop in a tunnel, unless there's a car accident. Now, sometimes we do pause in it now. It feels like when life is lifey, we just stuck in there. But the thing about the tunnel is what? You can see there's another side. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? That's so cliche, but it makes so much sense. You see it. Sometimes it feels like you're never going to get there. And sometimes it feels like you can't even hear God's voice. Think of God's voice as the radio, right? You have your radio on at first, and then when you get into that tunnel to a certain point, it becomes what? Static. And it's like you don't hear anything, right? But that doesn't mean that we stop. We have to keep going to go through it. We have to go through it, and we know that that's what we have to do in order to get to the other side. There's no fast way around a tunnel. And life is like that. Think of the tunnel as a process to get to where we're going. And that's all, perception is everything as we're living life and as we are trying to strive to be better and, work and pay bills, have a little fun, take care of ourselves. Life is a lot. It can be a lot sometimes. But that staying focused and keeping the faith, knowing that you're not where you were, you're not where you're going, but you're still moving, And sometimes life happens so fast. It's like, dang, how we get here? How did I get this age this fast? How did I do this? How did I do that? Because we're not present in it. Sometimes we're just so focused on getting through that tunnel to that other side, right? That we can't even see the growth and the things that are happening and manifesting on the way there, And that's so important to do and reflect on. So faith is one thing. Then the next thing is attitude. This is my concept I call FAST, FAST, right? So faith is the first one. The second one is attitude. Attitude is pretty much like how a person views or perceives something. And often that produces a feeling, right? So the thing about an attitude is we can be intentional about it. We can make a decision about our attitude, right? Now, some days it may be harder than others to fix whatever attitude we're in when our feet hit the floor, right? Because of whatever that may be going on in our lives. But we can make a decision when we open our eyes and our feet do hit the floor, being intentional about the type of day that we're going to have. Our attitude is a coping skill that could get us through times where things are unknown or we just don't understand. And, how do you fix your attitude, to change your perception? And that just goes back to reflecting on things that you have to be grateful for. What are you grateful for? What have you overcome? Thinking about things in the midst of things not going right for you, actually being intentional about taking the time to think about what you've experienced. I've always said life makes sense backwards, and it does. And sometimes we get so caught up in living that we don't take that time to reflect and to be present of where we are because we're so stuck on the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And we can't do that, man, because it takes away the credibility of what we have made it through, and that's the stuff that validates you to your next level. We so often look for other people, to validate us, and that's not their job. That's up to us to validate us, and people that always put their hopes and their expectations and their worth, on other people, or they gain it through other people, you're going to always feel like shit, to be truly honest, because people are people. They got their own stuff going on too. So we have to do what we have to do to take care of us, our minds, our attitude, work on our gift, work on our calling, and striving to be great. It's not other people's job to make us feel better. We have to be intentional about that. And, that's where that codependency stuff comes from. Codependency, like if you have a spouse that's having a bad day, or somebody in your family's having a bad day, and then you let their bad day or their attitude affect you and your day, and it just throws everything off. That's a codependent trait right there. That's codependency. And, a lot of times some people may, feel that their worth or their day is based on how that person is, who they're connected to. And you're going to have a long way to go. So learning to have peace, and staying focused on you and what you're trying to achieve instead of always having to, worry about everybody else all the time. Putting that focus on you to keep your attitude in check. Because that's the stuff, that attitude that gets you through those difficult days that we're going to have sometimes. You know, it's the stuff that keeps us going when we want to give up, our attitude. And faith and attitude, they go hand in hand. Because we have faith, it should affect our attitude to where we just, be intentional about continuing to press through. And sometimes we'll sit there and waddle in our emotion for so long that the problem solving can't happen. No problem is solved by waddling in the emotion. Now, I'm not saying don't feel, right? We're humans. We're going to feel. We're supposed to feel. Not escape it, feel it. But if we waddle in that for too long, nothing is getting solved, man. We just feel more like crap at the end of the day. And we need more action. Depression creeps in. Anxiety creeps in when we sit there and continue to waddle and do the woe is me and all, you can't stay in that posture. You can't, because it's easy to get stuck that way. And it's so hard. It's easy to get in, hard to come out. So you have to be very cautious. So faith, right, is when you believe in something, your attitude is how you view something or perceive something, and your attitude, you can be intentional about making a decision of that you're going to have a good day, that you're going to press through something and achieve something. Next thing is speaking, right? Speaking, what we say, what we say out of our mouths is so big, and we can speak things into existence. I'm a high believer of that. Manifesting those things, saying what you want, saying what you don't want, and see things just shift. And here's the thing, though, the other side of that is not going to be in our time. It's a part of that tunnel. It depends on, when it's time for that to show up in our life in that process. We can't sit here and just make something happen when we want it to. If it ain't time, it's just not time. But it will happen. And then that goes back to that saying, delayed but not denied. It's a true thing. Sometimes it takes forever for things to happen and manifest, it feels like, right? But it's going to. And when you know it's going to, that's the stuff that keeps you pushing when those things don't go right for you, or those people walk away from you, or you just super confused. That's the stuff that keeps you pushing until you have that clarity, until you have that achievement. Okay? And lastly is the thinking part. What we think, we have to be so intentional about this, right? Our thoughts. CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, that is what that is grounded in, our thinking. And what it is what we think influences how we feel. How we feel influences our behavior. What we think influences what we do, pretty much. So those are those two sides of it where it affects us. If I feel like I'm a failure and I have so low self-worth, I'm not going to shoot for the stars to be successful, or to go out for this opportunity or that opportunity, because I feel and I think that I'm not worth it. So identifying those dysfunctional thought patterns that you have, identifying it and confronting it. My other saying, as you know, y'all, I have so many, it is, when you're dealing with, whether it's trauma, whether it's life stuff, whether it's low self-worth, whatever it is that you're dealing with, whatever type of dysfunction, uproot, confront, and destroy. That's how you get through that. Uproot it, to look at it, acknowledge it, no longer living in denial, confront it. Don't be afraid of whatever it is that you need to confront. And once you've confronted it, destroy it. And destruction can look like different things. It could be, walking away from something, or it could just be just letting it go. It could just be letting it go. So it depends on the situation and the person to how you determine to use that strategy. So thinking is big, man, and we can sit here and entertain negative thoughts all we want to. Your life is going to be hindered. You're not going to live up to who you're called to be. You can't fulfill your calling by having a negative thought process. Yes, we're human, right? Yes, the negative thoughts will come, but we have to combat it. We have to fight it. We have to challenge that. And then sit here and reflect. Life makes sense backwards on the evidence of why you know that you can overcome that. Looking at how you overcome different things before, looking at all of that. That's how you gain the confidence, man, to keep going and fulfill the calling, fulfill the purpose, and fulfill that greatness that is deep down within you. And lastly, everybody is not supposed to know everything. I take moving in silence to a whole nother level. Because when you open the door for other people's opinion, you open the door for distractions. And then people's voice will be louder, way louder than the voice you need to be listening to. So that moving in silence, everybody don't need to know what you're doing. Everybody don't need to know what you call to do. Not until it's time. They'll find out when it's time. But sometimes we sit here and talk too much, that it causes more pressure because of the expectation. And we can't do that. We can't do that, And so I just, I wanted to, this was on my heart today. It was on my heart. And it was on my heart for a reason. Hopefully this helps somebody. And I'm also helping myself through this as I'm being called to different levels and to do different things. I have to also keep it moving in the midst of, and sometimes your calling is so strong or is so broad that you have to be willing to be set apart. Everybody set apart looks different. Sometimes things need to be, God needs to download things in us. But he can't do it when we're always around people all the time. And he needs us to be to ourselves for him to do whatever it is that he needs to do and allow us to regroup and get the energy back that we need to fulfill whatever that purpose is or that calling is, So this is just something that was on my heart, my mind. I hope that, these strategies are something that you take into account to use and it can actually help you, because God knows it's really helped me. It's helped me, although I am a therapist and I do what I do in the helping profession, I have to also be able to help myself. And the things and techniques and strategies that I teach other people, I have to also live by that. I have to live by that. Nobody is perfect. We all deal with things, but it's about serving others and taking what we've gone through and, just allowing it to be that testimony and allowing others to know, hey, you can make it too, and pushing others in the midst of their stuff to get through that tunnel, to get on the other side, to tap into their greatness and to push them to keep striving, So that's the goal. And I thank y'all so much for being here, with me today. I'm so thankful, so thankful for all of the support, man. Kuwait, whoever you are that is tuning in, I thank you so much. All the other areas that are tuning in, India, somebody in India, I shout out to you. I just thank you so much. Y'all just have no idea how spreading the word for Rap for Real Talk and seeing how this thing is manifesting, man, it's overwhelming. It's so cool. And this has been a dream of mine for so long as well, and for years and years, and I never spoke about it. Just had the material, the equipment in my trunk for a long time. And when it was time, here it is. No. So I just want to say thank y'all. I just want to say keep pressing on, pressing forward, stay focused, continue to take care of you, love on you, put your oxygen mask on, practice balance and boundaries. Just strive to be the best version of yourself. All right, y'all. Peace. Until next time.